All right, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we just got finished watching the Saudi press conference. I watched it again from yesterday. I was watching it live last night, and I'd heard about this card and rumored about, AJ fighting Wallin and Wilder fighting Parker, and maybe Bivol was on there. So I was a little bit out of the loop in terms of everything else. Perhaps everybody else was, but then all of a sudden I'm watching the press conference and I just couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, wow, you had Jarrell Miller. Obviously, AJ Wallin confirmed. Excuse the train. Wilder, Parker, Dubois, Miller. That was a spicy press conference. We're going to get into all of that. J.R. Pataya, Dimitri Bivol, Filip Hrgović, Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn both smiling like Cheshire Cats. I mean, it's amazing what money can do because they were right. They were loving it. But my question is, are there too many mismatches? As great as this card is, it looks like there are too many mismatches. Let's talk about it.
Boxing.
Thank you very much for tuning in. Welcome back. Shout out to all the subscribers. Peace and love to you, and gratitude to anybody new locked in. If you are new, welcome along. This is a very exciting card. 23rd of December, Saudi Arabia, and an absolutely stacked card. I mean, it just looks like a fantasy dream team situation where just money buys everything, and hopefully these fighters are getting paid handsomely. I love to see that. But there are some good matchups, but there's also some mismatches, I think, or potential mismatches. Let's go through all the fights. We'll start with AJ Wallin. I actually think this is a really good fight for him. I thought about it at first and I was like, it's like another southpaw, but I was like, actually, it's a challenge. He's going to be a puzzle to unlock. He comes prepared, disciplined. I remember Roy Hodgson, right, is an old England manager, old football, soccer, and he was saying, Wallin's from Sweden, and he was saying about Scandinavian professional footballers at the time, how they are. He likes to hire them because they're just like, I'm sure that's probably controversial these days, but this was 15 years ago. It shouldn't be controversial because he's just basing it off of what he sees in skill and attitude. And he said they all had preparation, discipline, attitude, will to win. They were just organized. I think his main word was, and that's the same for Otto Wallin. He comes organized. He has a game plan. He's prepared. He's disciplined. He's got basic skills. But I tell you what, a fighter with basic skills that comes prepared and has all those attributes I just mentioned is probably going to win, unless you come up against a better talent. Now, obviously, AJ is a better talent. He's more talented, but Wallin will be more confident. Psychology plays a massive part in boxing, so it kind of narrows the gap a little bit, doesn't it? But AJ, I think this is a good opportunity for him to actually get a good win on his resume again and beat somebody like, I think maybe he's got an opportunity to beat Wallin decisively that nobody's done. Obviously, Fury had issues with him, okay? He still won, but Wallin gave him all sorts of problems, and that cut was from a punch as well. So I think AJ, if he does, I'm gonna need to watch a bit more film. I watched the Gassiev Wallin fight this morning, just a little bit, just to remind myself, because there's a couple of fights Wallin had that, when you look at his resume, he really hasn't beaten anybody, obviously Gassiev, but he was a former cruiserweight and he's been inactive. So, and then he keeps going on about the Fury win, but really and truly he hasn't beaten anybody. Dominic Brazil was a good performance, but look, he's not a top level fighter at all. So, but nonetheless, he does offer, a good craft, prepared, disciplined, and he'll have a game plan, and he'll be determined, and he'll be confident, and he will cause AJ a few problems. But AJ should be winning this fight. He should be comfortably winning it if he is at his best version. But that's just, hopefully there can be a breakout performance to put AJ back on the map. Because honestly, about this card, obviously we're getting Wilder and AJ on the card, just not fighting each other. So hopefully they get the wins that they need so they can fight each other. Moving on to Wilder Parker. Now, I don't like watching Joseph Parker. I've got two pet peeves in boxing. One of them is when a fighter doesn't show up to win. The other one is when I see two obese heavyweights. Like, it drives me nuts. It shows such a lack of discipline, and I'm all about discipline, and it just shows a lack of respect, I think. Sometimes, look, they might get called in for late notices and stuff like that, and then they might be out of camp. Fine, fair enough. But when heavyweights show up like that, it really bothers me. But it really bothers me when fighters don't try to win, and Parker is one of those. And I'm not saying he hasn't tried to win in the past, and I'm not saying there aren't moments in a fight where maybe he's not there to win and he does, but to fulfill a fighter's need to win, you got to want to win all the time and put yourself in a place you don't want to go to. And Parker, don't even know if he has that in him. He's never really had the stuff, you know. Looking down on his resume, he's never actually beaten the champion, and his only actual main win was against Andy Ruiz, which was a good win. And I briefly watched that fight a couple of days ago. Again, it was on HBO actually, so if you want to watch that, because I wasn't really that excited to watch it, and then I was like, oh, it's on HBO, cool. And they had the whole team on there, and they actually had Parker winning by a point. I wasn't scoring it like that, but I was just having a little gaze over, and he was obviously far better, far younger, far fresher, faster, and more motivated back then, you know. But now he's more motivated to be Tyson Fury's mouthpiece. It's really embarrassing what he's doing with Fury. I've never got excited when I hear Joseph Parker's name, you know. And Wilder, for me, look, there's obviously some question marks about him. He's had one round in a couple of years, is it? But Malik Scott, I've been watching a lot of posts that they have. He's been really trying to gear him and getting his boxing IQ up, and getting his footwork up, and you know, obviously his power is always going to be there, but there's other stuff he needs to focus on, which is his footwork, the fighting going backwards, you know, just getting the boxing intelligence there or up. Okay, it's such a deep thing that you need to be working on for so long, but at least you can get it to the point where you can be in a position to fight going backwards, or be in a position to think your way through fights. But I don't think Wilder should have too many problems with Joseph Parker, to be honest with you. I see a moral victory for Joseph Parker. He'll be happy to go 12 rounds and, you know, just move away from the power. I don't know how that fight will go exactly, but I can't imagine Parker will come to win and really let it hang out. And I can imagine Wilder will, although we still don't know how much those losses from Fury took out from him, because, you know, that was a brutal loss. You know, he came back with a good fight, good stoppage. He knocked Hellenius out on the back foot, so maybe he'll be off the back foot. I don't know. So it's an interesting fight, sort of, but again, I'm not really thrilled about the Parker matchup, just because of what Parker doesn't bring to the table, which is the courage and the will to win. But that's just my opinion. Then we have, obviously, look, the highlight of the night, I think, is Daniel Dubois versus Jarrell Miller. That's a great fight. That is a really good fight. Daniel Dubois obviously coming off a stoppage loss where he quit again against Usyk. I picked him to lose actually in the 10th by stoppage, and I wasn't surprised that he quit. You know, they say once a quitter, always a quitter. That's a true statement, I think, for the most part. And look, if there's one fighter you're not going to want to be in there with whilst things are going wrong, it's against Jarrell Miller, because he is a bully. He said at the press conferences he was giving everybody the stuff. Bro, you gotta laugh. That was very entertaining. He's great, and he is a bully. I'm telling you that. I've seen him spar in the gyms here in New York, and he's done the same thing. Then, obviously, what happened with the PED thing and his lack of remorse was awful. Very shameful stuff. Very disappointing. You know, like I was always thinking, like, you know, if people, the way I see drug cheats, yeah, is like, look, you know, people were trying to get him banned from the sport for life. And look, I hear that. I do. I'm certainly not gonna like defend it, but I am a person that likes to have people redeem themselves. You know, people do make mistakes, and people do get caught up in things, and situations happen, and life happens, and you look back and you're like, wow, why the hell did I do that? But the lack of remorse kind of blocks that, right? It's got to come from the person within to say, you know what, I really messed up, and I'm sorry, and I want to make a new amends. But none of that's happened. But boxing's boxing, and they'll welcome anybody back, and any promoter, any promoter will not care about what the fighter's done as long as there's money on the table. And you see how much money's on the table. You see how Eddie and Frank were next to each other, just smiling. They must be getting paid. They were just thinking dollar bills, dollar bills. It was quite amazing to watch, really. All of this was very surreal. But Jarrell Miller, we don't really know where he's at. I haven't really been watching who he's been fighting, to be honest. It's a bit of a mystery, but I tell you one thing, he's going to come and he's going to want to put an absolute beating on Daniel Dubois. He will, okay? And if he closes that distance, which he will, and he gets to Dubois, because Dubois, look, he doesn't know how to box off the back foot. He just doesn't. I think he's going to stop Dubois. If he can get away from that right hand, because Miller's got pretty good head movement, he's got more skills than people think and give him credit for. He's very skillful, especially on the inside. Yeah, he does get hit here and there, but when you're in punching range as well, it's it's inevitable. But if he doesn't. Yeah, I need to pause on him not getting hit clean too much, because like I said, I haven't watched his last few fights. I haven't really been interested, but I can imagine he won't have any problems closing the distance with Dubois, and I can imagine Dubois won't have the mental capacity to be able to, just sit back, use a jab, clinch, hold, move, box, tie him up, all that stuff. Because that's what you're going to have to do with Miller. He's massive. Miller is massive. You see this when he was standing next to Fabio Wardley. You see the size difference. Wow. Fabio Wardley's, I don't know how big he is, but Miller is huge. He's the big walrus of a man, and he's going to put a beating on Dubois. I think. I wouldn't be surprised if this went in the mid rounds and he stopped Dubois. I can't see this going 12 rounds, no way. But then again, where's Miller at? We're like, he's just so big, and he's been notoriously undisciplined out of the ring. Even by his own admission, talking about eating cheeseburgers and stuff like that. Yeah, but look, good fight. Nonetheless, very intriguing, good fight. And he's going to be there to uplift the press conference and just bring it to a light, because that's what the promoters love as well. You see, Frank Warren was laughing the whole time, and he was trying to get Daniel Dubois to say a bit more, but Dubois looked all right. What do you expect? He doesn't really say that much anyway. But he didn't look too fazed by it. But then what? Okay, then we got Dimitri Bivol, who looked very uninterested to be there. If you looked at his body language, because he's a champion, right? Him and J.O. Pataya, I think they're the only two champions on the card, and they're pushed way to the back. So, and he's obviously got that massive win off of Canelo, where he became a star. Dominant win off of Zerdo, which I actually picked him to do that, but I didn't make a video about it at the time. But I was like, he's going to beat Zerdo easily, and he's an absolutely fabulous fighter. I'm still making a video about him. It's just, look at it as a painting that I've made, but like, it's on the side. I've just got to give it a bit of breath, because I every time I look at it, I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. So give me a sec on that. But Art of Perfectionist, going into how Bivol developed his style and why he is so good. But he's fighting Arthur Abraham. Mismatch for me, Abraham, I think, Lyndon Arthur, Lyndon Arthur. Yeah, he's just going to be boxing off the back foot, and I don't see Lyndon Arthur coming to really win and do what he should do. And I see Dimitri Bivol just probably stopping him, but outboxing him and just winning a clear, decisive win. I was watching a YouTube, I saw a tweet this guy posted. I don't really tweet on boxing, but I've got another account. But I follow a few boxing things, and this guy was like, is this pay-per-view worthy for $80 with AJ, Wallin, and Wilder Parker, and Dimitri Bivol? And I responded and I said, well, depends who Bivol's fighting, because as much as I love watching Bivol, nobody really wants to see a 12-round one-sided mismatch, and that's what probably this will be. So, excuse me, it's good that he's on the card, and it's great to have all these fighters together, but realistically, fight by fight, are we really going to want to really watch blowout after blowout? Because J.O. Pataya, I don't know this Zorro guy, Ellis Zorro. I know he's British, and I know he had a, what is it? I don't know. I got to watch a bit more of him, but that does sound like a mismatch. And J.O. Bataille, I've been watching some interviews with him lately, and as much as you can obviously gauge a lot from the stunning performances he's been putting in, which he destroyed. What's that guy's name? Thompson, Carl Thompson, and no. You know, the last fight Bataille had Thompson, and then obviously the tremendous fight with Bradis where he broke his jaw, came back, won the belt. J.O. Bataille is the real deal. Like, if you listen to him, a lot of fighters obviously talk about getting belts, and he is chomping at the bit to clean up the cruiserweight division and go to heavyweight and put it on everybody at heavyweight. And he's excited, and he's humble, he's got humility, and he's happy, and he's ready to go. And that is a hungry, dangerous fighter. I'm going to make a video about him around Christmas time, about a film study about his style and about his attitude and about his energy. Because maybe, I know there's a few Australians that follow this channel from the Tim Zoo stuff that I did. If you are watching, shout out to you. Look out for that video. And sometimes I put up, I'm going to do these videos and they take longer than they need to. They'll come eventually, but this one is definitely in the works, and I'm looking forward to that. So it's just exciting to get him on the card as well. He's been frustrated, inactive, and he's dying to get out there. And look, he's going to put on a show, because he's a special fighter. I think he's going to be an absolute beast. So he already is, but you know, even more so. Then we have Filip Hrgović and Mark Demori. Then we have, moving on from that one, Frank Sanchez and Junior Farr. Yeah, I think by this time the card kind of thins out a little bit. I'm not really going to talk about the Hrgović fight. That's a bit of a joke of a fight. But yeah, I think I covered them all, really, to be honest. Look, at the end of the day, it's great. It's great for boxing in the sense that those are the kind. You talk about. All right, let's talk about, is it good for boxing, these kind of cards? Because yes, obviously it is. No one's saying it's not. But my point is, this draws so many attention. You know, casual fans care more about names and, you know, exciting moments in the fight. For example, if there is a mismatch for 6 rounds and there's a massive knockout and a highlight reel, I think casuals will care more about that than the 5 or 6 rounds of one-sidedness. You know, because us purer fans like to see competitive fights. I love to see skill. I love to see will. And I love to see a competitive fight, obviously. But I like to see a back and forth. I like to be entertained, but I do like skill. But I think for casuals, where I'm going with this is, if they are drawn to this and it's exciting for them, and they've not, you know, watched boxing before, and they see all these names, that's great for them. We could capture more of those to the sport, and then they'll become fans of whoever they like to see on the night. I'm sure J.O. Bataille will get a huge knockout, and look, that's a great thing. That's when you get ease in these casuals. But anyway, I'm excited that's like, you know, this boxing year, talking about other videos, I'm making a 2023 best fights of the year, like a music highlight extravaganza. That's definitely coming soon. So it's probably the first week of December. I'm going to put a beat on that and make a fat highlight 2023 reel. But anyway, that's it from me. I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's Friday tomorrow. Peace and love. Boxing on the Edge.